everybody, my name is Eric Hopkins and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're finding me for the very first time, please click that like and subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get all the notifications about when I put up new content here on this channel. So Indiana Jones 5 is coming to us here really quickly within the next year or so. So they're now currently filming that film. And now we've got some set pictures that have been revealed. So let's go over here to the article that discusses this. It is from the Den of Geek. Indiana Jones 5 set photos reveal Harrison Ford back in costume. In the last decade, Harrison Ford has revisited two of the legendary roles that made him a Hollywood icon. He stepped back into the role of a slightly wiser but no less stubborn Han Solo in 2015's The Force Awakens to guide the next generation of Star Wars heroes. That kind of landed with a thud with a lot of audiences, unfortunately. Well, that film actually a lot of people liked, but the trilogy as a whole, that's another story for another video, though. In 2017's Blade Runner 2049, Ford's haunted former replicant hunter Rick Deckard returned to the big screen, this time to help Ryan Gosling's Agent K uncover an android conspiracy. With his roles in Star Wars and Blade Runner seemingly concluded, Ford now turns to his other iconic character, Indiana Jones. Indeed, 14 years on from the release of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, another movie that a lot of people thought landed with a thud. I kind of liked it though, sue me. The 78-year-old actor is now filming what could very well be his final outing as the whip-cracking archaeologist and pulp adventurer. Production is kicking off in the UK at Bamburgh Castle, a fortress located in the northeast coast of England that dates back to the 11th century. Its halls are also said to be haunted by a ghost called the Pink Lady, who allegedly has some of the film crew spooked. I'd be spooked. But a ghost isn't going to stop Ford from suiting up for his latest big screen hunt for ancient artifacts. In fact, photos from the set showing the actor back in costume as Indiana Jones have leaked online just as filming begins. So here are those photos. This one here, clearly, obviously, he's in full Indiana Jones garb with producer Kathleen Kennedy. A lot of people want her ousted from Lucasfilm altogether, but she is also responsible for a lot of the good things that Lucasfilm is giving us. We'll see how the Indiana Jones film does. But I kind of feel like Harrison Ford's looking a little old here, or at least that top photo. This photo looks a little bit better. Part of it's just, the angle and all that stuff. So, and of course, it's hard to tell because he's wearing, a mask right now. So it's just kind of hard to tell what he's going to look like in the film as a whole. He kind of started to look a little bit old in the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but it's interesting. I think where they're going with the story could be a little bit interesting. So let's keep reading this article here and we'll talk about that too. While Ford will have just turned 80 when the fifth installment hits theaters, the actor looks in remarkably good shape in these set photos. In the photos above, he's shown chatting with Lucasfilm Kathleen Kennedy, who has worked on Indiana Jones franchise since its onset in the role of producer. But while Ford and Kennedy are back in their respective roles, creators Steven Spielberg and George Lucas have stepped aside for this. They are not involved in this fifth installment. Some people may feel like, that's a good thing. Directing is James Mangold, the director of Logan, from a script penned by himself, Jez Butterworth from Spectre, and John Henry Butterworth from Ford v. Ferrari. Originally, Spielberg and David Koepp, Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull writer, developed a story for the fifth movie, with the latter taking on scripting duties before being replaced by Jonathan Kasdan, who wrote Star Wars Solo, A Star Wars Story, and The Empire Strikes Back. And later, Dan Fogelman, This Is Us, whose draft used an entirely different premise. By 2020, though, Spielberg had stepped aside to pass along Indy's whip to a new generation to bring their perspective to the story. That's where James Mangold came in. So, what do we know about the plot of this untitled Indiana Jones flick? Very little, as the story is being kept under wraps right now. But recent set photos have revealed that the movie will at the very least, feature one flashback sequence where a younger Indiana Jones fights Nazis. In these pictures right here below, a body double can be seen donning a creepily realistic Harrison Ford mask for a scene in which Indiana Jones rides a motorcycle. I'm going to pull this up here and see if you can get a closer look at this, especially this shot here. It's kind of hard to tell, but this looks very realistic for a, makeup deal. Yeah, this could be very good. So we'll see what happens, but obviously the time period here looks like, the time of the Nazis. Maybe even, way he looked in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade here. So we'll see what they do with this here. But how Indy's fascist punching past ties into the plot of the new sequel remains a mystery, although it is great to see the character back doing what he does best, just when we need it most. The fifth installment also stars Mads Mikkelsen, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Boyd Holbrook, Thomas Kretschmann and Shawnette Renee Wilson, and it will arrive in theaters on July 29th, 2022. So yeah, it's just great to see Harrison Ford back in the iconic Indiana Jones attire. You know, the jacket, the fedora. Obviously, he hasn't shown with a whip here or anything like that, but obviously you know that's going to be there. Even though I thought the whip attack that he did in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull kind of looked a little weak and looked like they had to shoot it in a certain way to give it some credence. So we'll see what he can do at all. I think they said he'd be 80 years old when this film is released next year. So a 79-year-old Harrison Ford doing action adventure. Now, if they delve into Indiana Jones more in flashback mode, maybe Harrison Ford isn't going to be Indiana Jones for the majority of this film. I don't know if that's where they're going to take this or not, but there's a possibility. They may try to do a younger Indiana Jones here, using Harrison Ford's likeness. If that's the case, this could be very, very interesting, especially with the way technology is nowadays. I mean, we've seen films that had Samuel L. Jackson de-aged for the entirety of Captain Marvel. And we've seen, obviously, Robert Downey Jr. de-aged in the Avengers stuff. We've seen, you know, bring back characters or actors who have been dead for years, and like Peter Cushing he was brought back as Tarkin in Rogue One, a Star Wars story, and obviously, you know, the stuff they did with Princess Leia at the end of that film. So there's things that they can do now with technology that can make an older actor look younger, and even bring back deceased actors. On, you know, there's a whole controversy there about whether it's moral and all that stuff. I personally tend to believe if the family's okay with it, you know, and it's signed off on, it's agreed upon, it's not that bad. Obviously, I still personally think that they very well could be bringing back Paul Walker as Brian O'Connor in the finale for the Fast and Furious franchise coming up here in the next few years, if not in Fast 9 this year, which I've not seen yet. So if you've seen it, please no spoilers. Yeah, so, but as for Indiana Jones here, that could be very much where they're going. I got a feeling Harrison Ford's going to want to be in this as much as possible, and it's probably going to focus mostly on him in present day, or at least his time period, whenever that might be. It's probably going to be, you know, 60s, 70s, somewhere in there. I think the last film took place in the 50s. It might have been the 60s, so we may be getting into the 80s here. I'm not sure, but it just depends on what the story is. But, you know, I mean, if you can do a young Indiana Jones, like I said, I've said in some of my other Indiana Jones videos, I would personally feel like the best way, if you want Indiana Jones to continue a la James Bond or Batman, where you've got new actors coming in to take on the iconic role. I know some audiences don't want to see that. They want to see Harrison Ford. And the same way with Solo, they didn't want to see Alden Ehrenreich as much, even though I think Alden Ehrenreich did a good job. But if you want to pass on this role and you don't want it to end with Harrison Ford, which they may do, I still think Chris Pratt would be a good candidate to take on. But if you're going to do that, you've got to make Indiana Jones 5 the story to explain how you're going to do that going forward. Will it be by using flashbacks? You use another actor, but it looks like they're using a face mask in this one. But if you want to tell the story moving forward without him, maybe you need to set it up at the end of this film or something like that. But if you're going to show a young Indiana Jones with a face mask, it's going to be kind of hard to, you know, cast, like, say, a Chris Pratt, because they're not going to look the same at all unless you have Chris Pratt wearing a Harrison Ford mask. So my theory may be blown out the window here based on what they do. But if you want to get an actor to wear Harrison Ford or digitally do Harrison Ford, I mean, I guess if you have Harrison Ford's permission to do so after he's gone, that's okay too. We'll just have to see what they do. Obviously, Lucasfilm has some experience with this, with the Tarkin stuff. So we'll see what they do. But I don't know. I mean, this could just be for this film, and then it's over after this. And Harrison Ford says, it's my baby. It goes with me, and we're done. So that very well may be what happens too. But I don't know. I'm excited for this movie. I know after Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, a lot of people did not care for that film, so they're just kind of done with Indiana Jones. And obviously, at Harrison Ford's age, a lot of people feel like it's just going to look ridiculous. But as long as it's not following Mutt Williams, Shia LaBeouf's character, I'm perfectly fine with seeing what they do and hopefully try to wash the taste out of everybody's mouth from Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. While I liked it, I'm in the minority, and I have my nitpicks of that film as well. But if this is where they're going to go with it, I hope for a good film. I never want to see a film do badly. So I hope that this does well, and it will bring back some of those Indiana Jones fans, and we'll see what they do with it. But anyway, the whole bottom line here is, though, what do you guys think about the new set photos that have come out about Indiana Jones 5 that show Harrison Ford in the Indiana Jones garb? Please comment down below. Let me know. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get all the notifications about when I put up new content here on my channel. And until our next video, guys, take care.
We about to turn it up.